Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a video by Jimmy High Roller titled, "Can you solve the hardest problem in NBA history, guys?" And believe it or not, when it comes to the game of basketball, it's like strictly just comes down to like the math, guys. A lot of like geology and shit like that, bro. And there was a while there where I thought if I could master math, then I could master the game of basketball. And it turns out I sucked at both, guys. So, yeah, it's all just angles and, 1 plus 1s, then, man, I don't know, M equals MC squared times 2 or whatever, bro. Here we go.
If you had the job of choosing the #1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft, who would you pick?
Anthony Edwards.
And just as important, do you think you could make the correct choice?
Yes.
Anthony Edwards, Obi Toppin, LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman. Are you choosing a player that fills a role on your team, or are you choosing strictly based on the best player in the draft regardless of position? In some years, the decision is pretty clear-cut, but in other years, you could be one pick away from making a terrible decision that ripples through your franchise for years to come.
Pistons never done that.
Basketball is a team sport.
We always
draft
perfect.
It takes an entire cohesive unit to win a championship. But picking the best player in any given draft class can propel a team in the right direction for the next decade. So, who do you choose?
Damn, Obi's number 2?
This decision is not nearly as easy as you may think.
Like it's short-circuited.
A franchise will use their #1 overall pick on a player that makes you scratch your head. Out of all the non-NBA prospects in the world, you chose him? I mean, there's gotta
Nobody was scratching their head at Darko, though. He was looked upon to be like the next damn like Hakeem Olajuwon.
Be a reason why dozens of scouts,
Kevin Garnett,
coaches, GMs, and millions of dollars worth of resources concluded these players were worthy of a #1 overall pick. And like myself, you're probably thinking, hey, I guarantee I can make a better pick than this franchise. I mean, hindsight is always 20/20. It's easy to sit back and say choosing Darko Milicic over Melo, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh was a terrible decision,
right?
17 years after the fact. But making the correct choice in the moment is a near monumental task. Out of the last 40 NBA drafts dating back to 1980, only 12 drafts featured a #1 overall pick that was actually the best player in the draft.
Wow, that's crazy.
That means even the most savvy NBA minds in the world pick the best player in the draft only 30% of the time. That's atrocious. Typically, GMs...
It almost makes you not want to have the first pick. Like, damn, you better off having the second or third out there.
Do a decent job as they work their way down the draft board. But there's just something about that first pick. In a 7-year stretch between 2005 and 2011, every single #1 overall pick was not the best player in their draft class. And even with more advanced statistics at our disposal, more film available to break down, and better scouting techniques, making the right pick today is just as...
This is why I don't like analytics all that much, guys. Like, I don't mind analytics. I think they definitely have a place in the game. But at the end of the day, it's all about the eye test. It's all about looking at a player. And don't ever tell me, man, anybody ever looked at bitch-ass Kwame Brown in the eyes and saw somebody that was going to go out there and win some damn championships. They strictly looked at the numbers. They looked at the analytics. Yeah,
as
we all know how that turned out.
As it was 40 years ago. Watching an NBA prospect up close and in person is a crucial part of the process. But for the sake of this experiment, I am going to give you 3 players and their college stats. Now, all 3 of these players were in the...
Cole Anthony, Anthony Edwards. I don't know.
Same draft, all of them one and dones. The Sixers had the first pick in this draft, and they already have a great guard running the point. With the limited information provided, if you had to pick, who are you choosing with the #1 overall pick?
Out of all 3 of these guys, if I had to pick one, I mean, the perfectly first guy looks good, but that looks like a trick question. I'm going to go with the last guy. Because I see the least amount of green, and this just seems like, like a test or something.
I'll give you a moment to think about it.
Yeah, 6'8" forward. We are in a guards league, though. Younger.
So,
wait, no, he's not.
Have you made a decision?
Sure.
Hopefully, you've made the correct one.
With the last one.
Because out of these 3 prospects, one of them has had by far the best NBA career so far. Now, it's still very...
Hey, I fucking did it. Y'all thought we were looking at college players. Well, let's fucking go, man. Oh, okay, this is the college stats. Yes, sir, man. Jason Tatum. Okay, I thought we were looking at players from college and everything. But, yeah, Malik Monk at the second by Jason Tatum. I told you guys, freaking eye test, man.
Very early in
Eye
their
test,
careers,
man.
but Jason Tatum has asserted
Yes,
himself
sir.
as the best player in this draft. Of course, making a decision based off of just stats is tough to do. But even with the advantage of watching the kid play, GMs and scouts across the league felt that he was only
But see, Fultz had injury issues. His, his shoulder was all jacked up. And Malik Monk had other issues. Yeah.
worthy of a third pick in the draft. If the Sixers picked Tatum instead of Fultz with the number 1 overall pick, it is very possible that they would have made a trip to the finals by now.
Oh, yeah,
But
for sure.
making the correct pick is not as easy as it seems. So let's give this another shot. Here are 3 more
here we go, here we go.
prospects. This time, all 3 players the same position.
First one, because the first one's Giannis. And I don't care who the rest of them are. It's the first one.
Here are their pre-NBA numbers. One of
Second's
them being
Anthony
an
Bennett.
international player, one of them being a 2-year college guy, and the other being a one and done.
Don't know who the third
team
one
with
is.
the first overall pick needs a stretch forward that can space the floor and get the ball inside. Now,
Guess it's Anthony Bennett.
make your pick.
Psych. Giannis, number 1, guys. 6'9". You gotta look at the age, too. It's important.
So, which player did you choose? Well, hopefully, it was prospect number 1.
Yes, sir.
Because
2 for 2,
this
man.
player is soon to be a
That was
two-time league MVP.
Chris Paul in the third one. Not
As
gonna lie.
we've discussed, in regards to some picks, it is nearly impossible to predict what kind of player they will become. So if you didn't pick Giannis in this experiment, you're not alone. At the time, there was very little evidence that showed that in just 6 years, he would become the MVP of the NBA. In 2013, if you took Giannis with a top 10 pick in the draft, you would be laughed at and fired from your job.
Guys, I just figured out how to do it, man. We need to invest in psychology, man. Like, we need to be able to read, like, brain links and waves and stuff out there, man. And you can see, like, straight up, does all of the, what are them things called, man? The things in the brain, bro. I don't know, man. But the chemical balance does it show you are going to be a GOAT? Because that's what it comes down to, is mindset.
And in
The Mamba mentality,
2013,
man.
if you let Anthony Bennett slip past the 10th pick, you would also be laughed at and fired from your job.
Short
And
term.
yet, in hindsight, both of those decisions would have been the correct one. Let's do one more. This time around, we have 3 guards, each with their own sets of strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, the first one looking like Alfred Payton with that damn haircut. Like a freaking pancake on his head, man. Number 2, I'm gonna say number 2 is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, number 3. I don't know, man, but it's gonna be the last one.
And all with very different games. In this situation, your team does not need a guard, but you know that the best player in the draft is going to be a guard regardless.
Oh, not Alfred
So,
Payton, the first one.
Who do you pick?
Damn, 28 points. The one and done. The one and done.
Have you made your choice?
Sure.
Well, in this case, it's far too early to tell who will be the best
Anthony
NBA player in
Edwards.
years
Yes,
to
sir,
come.
man.
It's also
It's gonna be Edwards. You could just say because this whole thing proves that the more green, the less good you're gonna be. So yeah, Anthony
so
Edwards.
tough to assess which prospect is the best one because their circumstances and game are all so different. Experiments like this are impossibly difficult. You don't have the advantage of watching a player's strengths and weaknesses unfold in front of your eyes. But it gives us some insight as to what GMs, scouts, and coaches go through on a yearly basis. And just like the league itself, the NBA draft goes through phases. Like in the early 2000s, when the NBA went through its high school prospect
Sebastian
craze.
Telfair, man.
From the time the NBA was founded in 1949 all the way through the
Hey, this
2000
whole
NBA
documentary.
draft, there were a total of 14 high school players selected in the NBA draft. In the 5 years following the 2000 NBA draft, there were 28 high school players selected in the NBA draft, peaking in 2004 and 2005 with 17 high school
How many
players
were good?
selected in just 2 seasons. Of course, this was following the success of LeBron James, and the trend that followed was massive. NBA teams were chasing high school players like Robert Swift and Ricky Sanchez, in hopes that they would land the next superstar. The draft was getting crazy. Only 5 times in NBA history has a player with no college experience gone first overall in the
That
draft.
dude's name is Dick Ricketts. That's not that funny.
All 5 of these picks came within a 6-year span. But the odds of a team making the right choice in the NBA draft is slim. Out of tens of thousands of potential prospects, the NBA draft narrows the pool of players down to about 80. 80 guys that have a shot at getting drafted. Out of these 80 players, 60 of them will actually get drafted. Out of the 60 that are drafted, 8 won't even play a single second in the NBA. Of the 52
so Isaiah Thomas of the when he was on the Celtics,
only 39
so amazing,
draftees
last
will
pick in the
play
draft.
at least one
the Kings,
season
I think it was.
in the NBA. We are down to just 39 players, and we have only covered a season's worth of games of NBA playing time. Out of these 39 players, about 12 will average 10 points or more throughout their career. And of these 12 players, about 5 of them will eventually make at least one All-Star team. But here's the kicker. On average, only 1 in 2 draft classes features a league.
And 100% chance is one of those players that makes the All-Star team was drafted by the Pistons and they trade him away for a damn pack of crackers.
MVP. In fact, in the
Not even
last 25
saltines.
years, there have been just as many busts chosen
Oatmeal
with the number 1
crackers. Not
overall
even a thing,
pick
but if they were, it'd be horrible.
as league MVPs.
Probably a thing.
So, you have the honors of selecting the first overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft.
Anthony Edwards.
As optimistic as you want to be, odds are you won't select the best player in the draft. The player you do select has about a 75% chance of becoming an all-star, and about a 1 in 5 chance of becoming a league MVP.
Not bad.
But he also has the same odds of becoming a bust.
Not great.
You are in need of a lengthy point guard to bring a spark to your franchise. But then again, you have a shot at an NBA-ready 7'1" big man who looks to be the best player in the draft regardless of position. Your fan base is begging you to go with the general consensus and choose the player who is projected to go first overall. But the 2-year college guy that has proven time after time that he can perform
Obi Toppin makes me afraid. I feel like he might be like a Derek Williams.
with consistency and efficiency is starting to look like the most reasonable pick. 5 minutes on the clock, and your team is on the board.
And we all wonder why they take so many
Make your
damn
pick.
time. That was deep, man. That was good. I'm going Anthony Edwards, guys. Although, you know, LaMelo Ball would be fun. I don't know. I feel like LaMelo Ball has like the highest, like, he could be a superstar, but also there's a big, like, he's definitely right in that 20% could go either way range, right, man? But y'all give me your thoughts about this comment section below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and peace out, my friends.